Okay, so in your workbooks, you guys, reviewing Math 2020 rational expressions, when you're adding and subtracting, we were supposed to find the common denominator, make the denominators common, and then simplify. There's a few important things. As I look at this, I'll do that in red. The lowest common denominator here is going to be an x squared and a y. You have to make them all the same, so I would like it if you did this. Keep it mathematically legal by multiplying top and bottom by something to make equivalent fractions. It is considered in very poor math to write stuff like that. That's not true. In fact, that would be illegal. You're making equivalent fractions, so you can only multiply top and bottom by something. And I would multiply the top and bottom here by x. I have created a common denominator of x squared y. And so now I have a denominator of x squared y on both of them. So I have 4y plus 11x. Oopsie, plus 11x. And that makes me happy because that's as far as I can go. Okay? And that would be it. Right? Right? And that's going to happen with trig expressions. Right? So in your next one, you look at 8e. You can write that down. So we factored that first. This denominator is x minus 7 and x minus 4. And this denominator is x minus 7 and x minus 1. So that lowest common denominator that we always have to find in this case is going to be an x minus 7 and an x minus 1 and an x minus 4. Those are, if you remember, I had a silly little game. I think I talked about a math troll, and you couldn't get over the bridge unless you had all the pieces to build the denominator. So this math troll would expect you to have those pieces in your knapsack, right? Please, 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 when you do lowest common denominators, don't write stuff like this, okay? It's considered bad and illegal. So I know I'm making a common denominator, so this needs an x minus 1. Most people tend to write this, but it really is not true. That's not what you're doing. You might think you are, but that's not legal. If that's truly what you were doing, you've just made a huge error, okay? Because what you're really doing is multiplying top and bottom by x minus 1. And you're really multiplying top and bottom by x minus 4 because that's the piece that's missing. You no longer have that black. And so now what have you created? X minus 7, x minus 4, and x minus 1, x minus 7, x minus 1, x minus 4. Yay! So you have a lowest common denominator now. And now you don't have to write it twice. X minus 7, x minus 4, and x minus 1. Now the only trick is that you really have to watch. The numerator is x minus 6 and x minus 1. You just have to watch that subtraction. Because most people just throw it to the x or something like that, and that's illegal. So you just have to be careful how you handle that subtraction in the end. So you'll just FOIL that out and see what happens after, right? So I've got x squared minus 6x minus 1x, that's minus 7x plus 6, minus, I've got x squared minus 5x minus 4x, that's minus 9x plus 20. Now that's still under the subtraction sign. X minus 7, x minus 4. And whether you skip some steps, you guys, and you can do some stuff in your head, that's okay. I'm just going to put a little equals right here and squeeze that in. X squared minus x squared blows up. That's gone. Minus 7 minus minus 9, so that's plus 2x. And 6 minus 20 is minus 14. Oh, I like this one. I am glad I picked it. Do you know why I like this one? I like it because what? That's not the final answer. What's that? It factors. So because I'm running out of room and I'm lazy and I'm trying to be efficient, I'm just going to write the final answer, which is going to be over here. As you can see, if you factor that top, I have room over there. So if you factor that top, the top really becomes 2 times x minus 7 all over x minus 7, x minus 1, and x minus 4. So the final answer is, bloop, and the final answer is 2 over x minus 1, x minus 4. So you always have to factor in the end if you see something happen. One of the things we haven't mentioned for Math 20-1 is non-permissible values. X cannot be equal to 7, 1, and 4. So those were the NPVs. Okay? Those were NPVs for Math 20. Okay? All right? Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so that's adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, right? The next thing, if you look at your sheet, you'll work your way down and you start to see things like this, and oh mother, what is that, right? Those are called complex fractions, right? So then you go, I don't like those, okay? I don't like complex fractions. And there was a little trick that we used to get rid of them, and the trick was to get rid of complex fractions, things that had more than 2 levels. This is a fraction, these 2 levels, but you also have these 2 levels. So there's actually 4 levels to this condo, right? And this one too has 4 levels. That's called a complex fraction. And that's going to happen a lot on this sheet here. Ooh. So how are we going to deal with that, right? On the trig sheet, how are we going to deal with that? Just find the lowest common denominator and multiply by it. And I don't know if this makes any sense. The lowest common denominator of the denominators. Yee. What denominators am I talking about? These ones, 4 and 4. Those are what make this complex, right? The rest of it was just a fraction. So multiply the whole thing by 4. And what do you get? Multiply the whole top by 4, multiply the whole bottom by 4. Right? So multiply that complex fraction by 4 and see what you get. So this is a nice little baby one. But they come out really nice. Once you multiply by 4, you no longer have an ugly thing, right? Is that an S? I wish they wouldn't use S's. 4S minus 5S. Now, is that not the coolest thing ever? You just created a code for the number minus 17. You've just created, when you guys, if you were watching on TV, there was lots of the World War II encoding of messages and all that stuff. And they had these little machines, they had dials, ding, 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 ding. Well, now you have a code for 17. If you write that down, right, all that simplifies to be minus 17. Neat, okay? So what I want you to do with the other one, and I don't know if it's the right one that's circled, but question 9C, I want you to do that one. The lowest common denominator is m minus 1. Multiply top and bottom by m minus 1. And I picked this one especially because of the subtraction. So multiply the top and bottom by m minus 1. Duk, duk, duk. Duk, duk, duk. Multiply top and bottom by m minus 1. Let's see what you get, okay? So by multiplying by m minus 1, and some of you won't necessarily write this step in you don't have to necessarily write it out. You have to get good at it, but if I'm doing it, I just skip right to the next step, which is writing out what happens. I mean, because this step right here, what happens when you multiply this thing by m minus 1? M minus 1's gone, all you're left with is 2m. Blow that up. Gone. Isn't that the coolest? When you multiply this whole piece by m minus 1, you're really left with blowed up. You're left with subtract this thing. So really, all you've got is a FOIL out front, m minus 1 times m minus 2, and you've also got distributive property there. Don't forget that subtraction sign. So to finish it, we will have m, whoops, I want blue. So to finish it, we've got m squared minus 3m plus 2 and minus m squared minus m all over m squared minus m and plus 2m. We put all this stuff together and see where it comes out in the wash, right? So what have I got in the numerator? M squared minus m squared blowed up. Minus 4m, what's all that binging about? Minus 4m plus 2 all over m squared plus 2m. oopsie, m squared, m squared plus m. We factor out a 2 and we're left with minus 2m plus 1. And on the bottom I factor an m and it doesn't really help me. And I've got m plus 1. So as much as I wanted to factor and have fun like I did in the last one, it doesn't help me. There's nothing I can cancel. That's as good as it gets. There's nothing I can blow up, which is not as exciting as the last one or the one above it. Okay? Okay? That's the hard part. Now that you've got it all factored right, now you just get to have a blast. And seriously, this is my favorite part. Because your favorite part is just to go along and go crazy, right? 3s plus t, 3s plus t blows up. 2s minus 5t, 2s minus 5t. 2s minus t, 2s minus t. Is there anything else I can blow up? 5 and 2, 3s plus 4t, 2. There's nothing more I can do. So in simplest form, this expression is left to be a 5 and a 3s plus 4t, and underneath it is a 2 and a 2s plus 5t. What's that? I think you're right. I will never use s's again. Okay, but I didn't use them this time. That's one of the variables that probably shouldn't be used, especially the way I write them, right? But I think it's a pretty good s, but it just looks like a 5 to me. Okay. All right. So in the end, that's that.